We're looking at complex numbers. In an earlier section, we talked about solving the quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Now we're going to go back to that. So let's take a look at this one here. We've got x squared minus 2x plus 2 is equal to 0. Do we remember the quadratic formula? Let me write it. Where can I write it? We'll write it. Let's write it right over here. So x was equal to, was a solution, to negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac. And it's all over 2a. Now if we remember, let's write this in the general sense. Okay. We want to identify our A, our B, and our C. So let's do that. We have A is equal to 1. Okay, that's the coefficient that's assumed to be there. B is equal to negative 2. And C is equal to 2, right, coming from here. Let's plug it in. Now, because this section was over complex numbers, I'm going to bet that what's under this radical right here is going to be less than 0. In other words, it's going to be a negative. And this is known as the discriminant. So let's take a look at that. So we have b squared, which is going to be negative 2 squared minus 4, a is 1, c, and c is 2. What do we got? We've got negative 2 squared is 4, minus 8 is negative 4. So you see the discriminant is a negative 4, which is a negative number. Now we're dealing with a negative under the radical. But we know how to deal with that now. You see, we know how to deal with that. So let's go ahead and write it out. So negative b. B is negative 2. So we're going to have negative 2. And of course there was a negative out front there. Plus or minus the square root. Well, actually we don't need that much of a square root, do we? Well, I didn't mean to erase the whole thing. So we've already calculated b squared minus 4ac, and that happens to be negative 4. So let's write it in. And it's all over 2a, which is 1. Okay, let's simplify this thing down. So we have x is equal to, we got a negative and a negative, makes that a positive, plus or minus the square root of negative 4 over 2. Now I'm going to break this up. 2 goes here, and 2 goes over here. But we need to get this in the a plus, really, or minus bi form, since we've got a negative under the radical here. So this becomes x is equal to 2 over 2 is 1. Right? Now, what is this guy right here? Remember, this is negative 1 times 4, which is equal to the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4. And the square root of 4 is 2, so we could rewrite, and the square root, so this is I, and this is 2. Okay? But we usually write this as 2 on the left and I on the right. So this is plus or minus 2i over 2, which actually reduces down to 1 plus or minus I. So there's two solutions here. We've got one solution, 1 plus I, and another solution, 1 minus I. You can always check your work, even though it's a complex number. It's not a real number. It's still a solution, and you can plug that in. 1 plus I, plug it in for x. This whole side over here should reduce down to 0. Plug in 1 minus I into it, and the whole thing should reduce to 0. Okay? Alright, I think we're going to end it there. We're going to try to work out a couple in the next problem. So we're going to work a little bit quicker in the next video. Alright? Okay. That's where you can find me. See you there.